The problems continue to mount from the government shutdown. A group of federal workers were arrested at the Capitol today for holding a sit-in outside the office of the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell. They're hardly the only ones fed up with the federal fight club. The FBI claims it doesn't have funds for some investigations. The FDA can't approve new drug patents, and the Coast Guard is now wildly understaffed. FEMA has stopped paying contractors, and in a serious blow to almost all Americans, the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau has halted the approval of new beer labels. Oh, my God, we have to end this thing now. And who's to blame? A new Fox News poll shows congressional approval rating has fallen to 18%. Man, I thought it was in single digits. That's in the wake of the shutdown, while 67% of voters disapprove of the whole thing. It is a sorry situation, but if anyone can stop the stalemate, it is a man from the Buckeye State. With me now, Ohio Republican Congressman Bill Johnson. Congressman, welcome.
Kennedy, you give me way too much credit.
Well, let's see. I understand that you have a very novel idea that could help end the shutdown. What is it?
Well, I think the president should use the opportunity at the State of the Union. He's going to have both chambers. He's going to have the leadership of both parties. Every stakeholder is going to be in the room. I think he should, in front of the watchful eye of the American people, take his coat off, roll up his sleeves, and say, hey, we're going to handle this right here. Let's get to work. We're going to find out who's willing to negotiate and who's not.
That's right.
Let's get this done.
Wendy's is for closers only. I think it's a fascinating idea because I really enjoyed the sort of ambush conversation he had with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. They didn't realize there were going to be cameras rolling, and we were delighted to see it because it was a rather chaotic conversation. And then there's always mischaracterizations of the meetings when they're behind closed doors. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. And I think there are enough people that want to know, aside from the shutdown, how is the government doing? What is the president's vision? How is the future looking? Is this going to be a good year for me and my family? And, there are people who there aren't too many political moments where we really stop and watch and listen, and State of the Union is one of the few.
Yeah, it is. And the sad part about it is we could get to that, and we could get to that so easily. But the fact is that Speaker Nancy Pelosi has quit. She has quit on the American people. She has quit on the federal workers that are out of work and not getting paid. She has quit on the dreamers that she says she cares so much about. These political stunts, Kennedy, need to stop, because every time she does another political stunt like this, she paints herself deeper into a corner that's going to make it more and more difficult for her to get out. She made a lot of promises to people within her caucus in order to get the votes that she needed to become speaker. And those are going to come back to haunt her. You're already hearing from people.
She has, I mean, you're part of the Problem Solvers Caucus, so you know as well as anyone working across the aisle with some of your Democrat friends, there are people who are saying, just give him some money. There are people who are ready to break ranks because their constituents are very frustrated. And if I were a congressman or woman in one of the states that happens to employ a lot of federal workers, I would be putting a great deal of pressure on congressional leadership. What's happening?
Well, you said it. I am a very conservative Republican. I represent a conservative district.
I heard you thought that Brett Kavanaugh was too liberal.
No, I never said any such thing. But I can tell you what I do believe. I believe in governing. And I don't believe in playing politics when the American people and their livelihoods are at risk.
No, and Admiral Carl Schultz, he's the highest-ranking officer in the Coast Guard, he said that he is disgusted with this because he has men and women who wear the Coast Guard uniform who are having to go to food pantries in order to feed their families. And, when you put your faith and trust in your employer, which happens to be the federal government here, I don't have that kind of faith and trust in the government because I wised up a few years ago. You shouldn't be slapped down like this. And if I were one of those people and I were struggling and I didn't know how I was going to pay the credit card when the Christmas bill came, I would be very frustrated at Nancy Pelosi, dreamers as well. If my livelihood and where I live is in the balance here, and the president is saying, I'll extend it for 3 years, and Nancy Pelosi is doing absolutely nothing, I certainly would be frustrated.
Look, I have sat in the president's Situation Room with Democrats my colleagues on the other side of the aisle and fellow Republicans that want to get this solved. And we all heard the president say, I'm willing to widen the net of negotiation, but we've got to get Nancy Pelosi off of no. They've got to bring her to the table. You heard Steny Hoyer say he would invite the president to give the State of the Union. Over the weekend, you heard Representative
Steny Hoyer say,
Clyburn.
yeah, we do need walls in certain parts of the border.
Absolutely. And by the way, other Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, have all voted for walls and border security before. This is a political stunt, and it is an outrage. And the American people have every reason to be upset about where we are.
All right. Congressman Johnson, thanks so much for taking time tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Amen.